Welcome back to Modern Super League, week number nine. Not week number nine, excuse me. My name is Doomwake. I am here with the lovely Canister underscore MTG, and we are going to be watching some amazing modern action. Canister, how are you doing today?
Yeah, we're gonna be watching Aspiring Spike battling against Caleb Durward on two spicy decks. That is certainly a matchup of modern Magic decks that we've got right there.
Yep, definitely one of the matchups of all time for sure. We have some Calibrated Blast and some Time Sieves. Just before we head over to the match, I believe our players might be just about ready. What do you think about this matchup? I know this is a very, extremely common matchup that we've seen in the modern metagame before. So, who do you think is has the edge?
Exactly. This is yeah. What do I think about this matchup? It's a really good question. For the most part, I don't, and I have never had in the past. So I'm just gonna go straight into match, see what both of those competitors are gonna be performing with their decks, and just gonna absorb that all in to probably learn a lot and know a lot about this matchup for the future of modern that is there to come.
True. Yeah, no, it's just all about vibes today. So, like I said, I believe our players are just about ready to go. All right, so we're just gonna about a minute here. So while we have a moment, we will just go ahead and discuss maybe the decks that we played today. I'm playing some rhinos with a little bit of spice, as Anu hinted at earlier. Canister, what did you bring to the table?
My choice was the beans. I was a believer in Amulet Titan for the first 2 weeks, but this time I went with just beans, utilizing Time Warp as a win condition, letting me loop my deck eventually, and going over the top of what my opponents are hopefully doing. But will that match well enough against your four Shield Red and Rhinos? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This is a deck list that I definitely had the beans matchup in mind while I was creating it. So looks like our
Mm.
players are ready. So let's to get over to the feature match area with our first match. All right, everybody, we are back here. Round number one. Caleb on the bottom of your screen and Aspiring Spike on the top. We see a couple of Cyan Dracos, a Fable, and some lands for Spike. Seems like a relatively reasonable keep. And on one lander here from Caleb, but a couple of Gilded Geese.
Yeah, pretty dangerous keep with just one land, but I guess leading on a Guild Goose and then following up with a Mishra's Bubble, Emery, Caleb can get some places. Also, just cycle the Mishra's Bubble. I'm more interested in what happens on Spike's side here because I have to imagine this is like almost the perfect care for what his deck is trying to accomplish, right? Turn two, Sign of Draco. It's gonna be followed by a turn three, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and I bet that if he discards the second Sign of Draco, he's gonna draw a Calibrated Blast and gonna be ready to enact his plan.
Yeah, that's a very excellent point. This is kind of exactly how you draw it up if you're aspiring Spike. Now, my one kind of question here is we see a cookbook drawn for Caleb is these Asmos. So typically the calibrated blast decks that we've seen in the past have been more, oh, we got a little bit of rearranging going on. The calibrated blast decks we've seen in the past have been more burn focused, where they're just trying to like deal a little bit of points of chip damage and then always set up for blast for the 15 drop. But in this deck, it's a little bit more about kind of attacking from both angles, as about stack with Scion, get a couple of chip damage in there. Now with these Asmos being able to take care of the Scions, do you think that maybe gives Caleb a bit of an edge?
Assuredly, it puts him in a better position because as long as he doesn't drop, as Caleb doesn't drop below, what is it, 15 life? What's the cost of the Shadow of Mortality? It's 15, yes.
Yep.
So for as long as he doesn't drop below 15, then he is safe from getting blasted in one shot. So that's assuredly very important in the matchup.
Right, exactly. So we see a Fury drawn here for Spike. Could elect to go ahead and pitch the Fable to kill the Asmo, but goes ahead and plays the Fable. I think that makes a lot of sense. Really wants to loot some of these lands away to try and find one of his, bigger payoff spells, like we mentioned, the the calibrated blast. One thing that's maybe doesn't come up this game, but what's kind of funny about this is the food being able to gain 3 life. That could be extremely relevant, in a spot where Spike maybe sets up a blast for 15, and Caleb maybe is drops below 15. But if he has enough mana, can really just crack those food and get above that life threshold.
Yeah, exactly. Caleb was looking here for, I believe, a oval chase Daredevil, trying to mill something like that with the Emery, but has failed to do so. So for now, all of those fables, Scion of Dracos and Furies are gonna be able to stick. No blast. My
Yeah.
prophecy was not fulfilled though.
No calibrated blast. Interesting about these furies too. You'll notice that Caleb's creatures all have 2 or more toughness. So, like the most premier threat, I would assume, being Asmo. So a fury can't necessarily cleanly kill 2 creatures if you want to kill the Asmo. So a bit of kind of an awkward spot here for Spike. Maybe he wants to go after the Emery and the Goose instead. Well, I guess actually never mind because the Asmo has
Well,
2 damage on it. Yeah.
yeah, given the attack, I would say this Fury is going to be pretty excellent for Spike, and he's gonna be plenty happy to target Asmo and Emery with them with the trigger.
Exactly. Right as I was saying that I hadn't like processed the attack into the Asmo, so it made a lot more sense with the Fury now. So yeah, this is gonna, clean up Caleb's best 2 creatures. Now, for Caleb fans, he does have another copy of Asmo in hand. So if he's able to find preferably that Oval Chase Daredevil, like you mentioned, can go ahead and find ways to make a bunch of free food that way. And we're actually just gonna clean everything up here.
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive play. Not really what I was maybe expecting, but it does make sense. It also means that now the Daredevil, if Caleb finds one of the top, that's gonna be an absolutely devastating draw. Not the
Yeah,
case
and
though.
Caleb picks up a manufacturer. Those gilded geese looking pretty good here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's still a pretty great light for Caleb, right? Just discard Manufactor and use Asmo to shoot the Fury, and that puts Caleb in a rather decent spot still. Maybe we're gonna
Right.
see that line.
Yeah, it's almost like you're kind of both players sort of top decking. The Shadow of Mortality, I believe it's 15 and it costs X less where X is your life total, correct?
This card is always a puzzle for me, and I honestly never remember what it does. So I will just trust that your interpretation is fine, is truthful.
Starting Yeah, here we go. We got it up on screen for you all. So life total is less than your starting life total. It costs X, where X is the difference. So yeah, if you're at 10, it costs 10 less, so it'd be a 5 drop. So Spike actually one short of casting that right now.
Yeah, you see that even Spike just made sure just clicking on the card and tapping his mana. Maybe it's actually castable. Who knows?
Yeah, even the person casting Shadow doesn't, has to remember what it does from time to time.
But yeah, we see Caleb actually attacking, which could be deadly against those shadows of mortality.
It's a good point. Let's see the
Three of
third one. Okay.
them.
This Temple Garden. Oh, we can haste it. I forgot about that. That's nice. I was gonna say this
I
Temple Garden kind of biting us a little bit because we couldn't cast both of them.
Yeah, but it's fine enough just to use the reflection of it. But yeah, certainly, like I have to assume that Caleb doesn't have too much experience playing this specific matchup either, so uh, probably didn't have the foresight to think through the possible mixture of Spike's hand and recognize that it's possibly 2 or 3 shadows of mortality at this point, and maybe now he wishes he hadn't attacked.
Right, exactly. And now you're kind of in this weird spot where you have 2 cards in hand. It looks like that's what we're gonna go for. We're just gonna fire off the Asmo. Now, Caleb doesn't know about the second shadow. Do you go after the Okay, just go after the Fable. I think that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, if you just let the Fable untap, then 2 shadows are gonna be attacking you, so that's pretty devastating because you have to chum block, so makes sense.
See an attack here for 7. Caleb likely going to fall to 4. Now, the Saga can maybe buy Caleb a little bit of time, make some chump blockers. And I mean, honestly, the card that Caleb really wants to draw here is the card that you don't ever cast, and that's Oval Chase Daredevil.
Even that would be fairly sketchy in this spot. And we see the Calibrated Blast. Alright, let's go.
Fire it off. See if we hit. So Fury kills Troll of
Troll of
Khazad-dûm. That one
Khazad-dûm.
definitely kills. There we go. Aspiring Spike wins game number one in a nice little calibrated blast fashion. So we see players moving to their sideboards.
Hmm.
Caleb with a couple rings, looks like an Unmoored Ego, Back to Nature, Soul Guide Lantern, Shadow Spear, some more Urza Saga targets. Trying to think if Caleb really wants to do something maybe along the lines of Unmoored Ego, but maybe not because Spike's deck kind of attacks from multiple different angles. One ring could be pretty good though.
Yeah, and Mordigo is a little bit too mopey against what's essentially like too much of a mid-range deck. I would say from Spikes. One ring, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
Not too
and
much that's very exciting. Maybe Bone Shards as a way to remove some of the bigger creatures if Caleb is interested in that. I'm not entirely sure if this is what I would intuitively do, because there's also an option of just sticking to what you presented game one and making your deck as good of a combo deck as you can, because that is what Caleb's deck actually is. It's a combo deck, right?
exactly. Yeah. And the bone shards are like it's very strange because Spike's deck can play out in so many different ways. Like, we talked about the Scion of Draco territorial Kavu angle, which is just play some early creatures and attack you a bunch of times. But he can also just play a Fable on turn 3, discard a 12 drop, cottage that back on top, and blast you, and you're going to be sitting there with all these bone shards in hand. So it's very, very strange trying to play against a deck like this that can attack from this many different angles.
Mhm.
But yeah, from Spike's side of things, looks like we're going with a couple of Pithing Needles, a Murderous Cut, and a one copy of Break the Ice. That's kind of interesting. I guess that's good against Saga.
Has to be the plan, yeah.
Then I assume Pithing Needle probably wants that for either. It's kind of cool with Pithing Needle because if you are worried about the Saga plan, you can just name that, or if you have a creature based draw, then you could just name the Asmo. So kind of gets both sides of the buffalo there.
I think the premier name for Piffing Needle is also Underworld Cookbook, where you get to stop their food production and their combo angle and their Asmo activations. Overall, pretty tough card to beat for Caleb's deck, usually, in my understanding.
Exactly. So we got opening hands for both players here. I see Spike's got a couple of lands, a Kavu, a Needle, a Blast, a Fable, and a Fury. This looks pretty good from Spike's side. And then Caleb also, yeah, Caleb's hand looks pretty good too. So two very, very good hands.
Yeah, not too shabby. Was gonna be excellent once Caleb finds an Ovalchase Daredevil.
Yep. So we see Needle, as you mentioned, likely going after the cookbook. And that Needle on cookbook, Caleb does have a couple of answers in the form of Besechu and Haywire Might, but it's going to slow him down significantly. Um, Bauble pickup. So you can deploy the Emery here. My guess is we're probably going to go Bauble. You may not want to expose the Haywire Might this turn in the fear of it getting Leyline bindinged.
Or even Fury. If you play your entire hand, Haywire Might, Emery, Fury, Emery, and Might, then you're gonna be really bad against Fury. So makes sense that Caleb decides to keep his Might, seemingly.
Yep, definitely like that. So Spike is lining up likely a turn to. It's tough here. Do you turn to Kavu or do you turn to? Looks like we're going to go Fury, Pitch Blast, and likely Kavu, I guess.
Have to assume. What lands do we have in our deck? I guess Temple Garden, right? So that's probably what we're going for. It's the best for Leyline Binding and for Territorial Kavu. And you have a 4
Yeah,
for Kavu, maybe Fable next turn. No, instead it's Overgrown Tomb. Okay.
yeah. So I wonder if he's choosing to go for the tomb because he is theorizing turn 3 Fable, turn 4 fetch for Cottage, put Fury on top, and then have the fifth mana with the treasure. So maybe just prioritizing the ability to maybe Cottage later down the road.
That does make sense.
It's like we got an attack here from Kavu. You want to loot here. I don't know if you want to discard either of the bindings. Looks like we're just going after the bauble. That seems to make sense if Caleb, excuse me, ends up drawing another copy of Emery.
Mm-hmm. Really show that Mishra's Bubble.
Got Fable the Mirror Breaker here for Spike. couple of bindings left over. So Caleb's going to make a token. And then now, what is Caleb going to do here? So the pithing needle on cookbook limits his plays a little bit. We would ideally want to answer that before we kind of do anything else. So we're actually just going to go for construct tokens. A little bit curious. I was wondering if maybe we could have like Haywire Might, pop the needle, discard Daredevil, go from there. But I guess he doesn't have a ton else to do with the rest of his turn past that.
Yeah. Do we have a Springleaf Drum available? We do not. Was it sideboarded out or is it not in the deck
Oh, it's in
entirely? It
hand.
seems
No,
like
it's in his hand.
oh, it's in hand. All right.
Yeah.
This is where it was hiding.
The classic Urza Saga problem, you always draw the card that you wanna fetch off of it.
Right. So what are we getting here? It could be a second cookbook because you are expecting to use the Haywire Might at some point.
Yeah, it's actually really awkward for Caleb that he couldn't get the drum there, because I think you're right, I think he would've wanted to go get drum, play might, pop it, and then you could have made a food this turn with cookbooks, so very awkward sequence here for Caleb.
Another Pithing Needle. That is slightly unfortunate for the Haywire Might plan, but seems like Spike is not envisioning that and is instead foregoing the Pithing Needle entirely.
And notably, Caleb chose not to attack last turn. We did have a 5/5. So I guess interesting. With Spike at 11, I would kind of want to maybe try to put the pressure on a little bit.
That is certainly attractive. My inclination, though, would be to stay on the defense too, given that soon I'm planning to get my unrolled cookbooks unlocked and then try to gain some value, make my constructs even bigger, and maybe utilize Time Sieve. Ooh, well, we don't have enough
Academy,
mana to.
yeah, 1 mana short. We could be able to go Academy Manufacturer, play might pop the binding, just a little bit shy of that. We could go for something like Haywire Might, try to go Chump Block, pop Needle, then untap and do a bunch of stuff that way. Looks like that is going to be the plan. And I actually like not exposing. Oh, okay, we're gonna pop it now.
Sorcerer speed, so we could maybe gain 3 life with a food. That puts us at 10 against 6 power on the battlefield. So
Okay. Yeah, and then
yep,
this is assuming that Spike draws nothing. This is going to be lethal next turn because the
yep,
manufactor plus 2 cookbooks makes 6 permanents. That's infinite turns with time sieve. So Spike's got a big draw step coming up here.
exactly. Or we can even
Interesting.
deploy the time sieve. All right, that does.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Caleb valuing the extra turn here. I interesting. I wonder what Caleb's thought process there was, because like you said, you could just crack the food, go to 10, and then even if Spike draws the fifth color for Kabu, that's only 7 damage. But maybe Caleb has the read that Spike's last card is a blast or something like that.
Well, even if it is a blast, then we are still taking the damage, right? We're gonna take the damage from the Kavu. All right. I'm not entirely sure what the thought process was, but it was a certainly more aggressive line, taking the extra turn immediately, deploying the manufacturer. The benefit is that we get an extra activation immediately from the manufacturer. Ooh, and a lightning bolt. It's not
That
quite
is,
lethal, but it is close to.
yeah, that's going to be a tough one for Caleb. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe he just, like you said, really, really thought that he was going to be dead that turn, and therefore just valued that one extra turn immediately, and ends up
Mhm.
drawing a Misty Rainforest. That's likely not going to do it.
Would he be still dead with the bolt, right? I think so. No, no, no. He actually wouldn't be, right? Because he would be at 7, taking 6 damage,
Yeah,
and then also yeah, 10 life, then he takes 9 damage total. He would be in a tough spot if Spike held the ball to answer the manufacturer later on, so
right. Yeah, that's true. But in any case, yeah, looks like that is going to be a victory for Aspiring Spike. Moves on to the winner's circle. Caleb falls down to the loser circle. But yeah, that was, like you said, a very interesting matchup between two of the more popular decks in the modern format. It was a pretty good showcase of that. Unfortunately, for Caleb fans, we didn't get to see any infinite turns. We did see one extra turn. So if that's on your bingo card, then you can go ahead and cross that off. But yeah, that was a pretty fun match.
Yeah, I'll try my best to, take finite but still a very large amount of turns in our match, so I'll
True,
try
that
to
is a
make
good
up for
point.
that.
Do- there are some definite time warps in my future. So I believe that is going to be it for round number one. But before we do go to break, we do have a giveaway. So I believe that Anu is going to get it started in the chat for us right now. For everybody in chat, if you type the word horror, that's HORROR, in the chat, you can be entered to be in a giveaway. If you are selected for a giveaway, just reach out to Anu on Twitter or Twitch, and that will go ahead and get some free stuff. So with all of that, you can start typing horror in the chat, and we'll be back in just a little bit. Kanister, we're going to do some battling.